Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Delane Simpson, and I'd like to welcome you to the August 28th Code Enforcement and Nuisance Board meeting. We'll call to order. The roll call, please.
Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Here.
Dearbone. Wilder.
Here.
Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. Approval of minutes of June 26th meeting. Any comments, changes, or additions?
Motion to accept the June 26 minutes as read.
Second.
Deere. Thomas. Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Wilder.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
All righty. I'd like to welcome two new code enforcement officers, Jared Poteet and Darren Bowen. Welcome aboard. At this time, we'd like to swear in the staff, please. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, nothing but truth, so help you God. Yes. Thank you. And Counselor, I understand we'll be going into closed session at the conclusion of
Yes,
business.
just briefly, just want to give you an update on COVID.
All righty. All right, so our first case is case number 1, 2017-7525, 1120 Old Barren River Road. Owner Rodriguez Pablo, and another name I can't pronounce. And Brad, your case.
This case is the result of a roaming inspection from the 14th of September of last year. It was previously brought before the board at the April 2018 meeting as we were requesting authorization to issue a per-day fine citation. As you see in the screen in front of you there, 3 citations were previously issued. The board did authorize such for a per-day fine, and a letter was sent to the property owner informing them that a per-day fine would begin in 10 days if the property was not brought into compliance. On May 10th, I re-inspected the property and found that it remained in violation with no positive changes having been made. I issued the per-day fine citation at that time. I posted it on the property and sent it by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner and address. The fine ran for a period of 60 days, at which time the property was inspected and remained in violation. As of today, the case has been open for 346 days. 347 days. Correction, 347 days. As you see on the screen there, this is the day that the per-day fine citation was issued, which was the 10th of May of this year. They continue to have vehicles parked on the grass, inoperable vehicles in the backyard. They also had accumulated piles of rubbish, debris, and construction material, boarded broken windows, car parts, pallets, and the window in the back door was broken out. As of today, the pictures in front of you there are today. They continue to have inoperable or unlicensed vehicles on the premises. Pallets, indoor furniture, and rubbish throughout the driveway in the front of the home. They also still have the 2 boarded and/or broken windows. I was not able to go into the backyard because of a dog on the property that you'll see there in the bottom left picture, so I wasn't able to verify if the window and the door was broken around the back of the house. I can tell you that the grass was about knee-high throughout the entire backyard and most of the front yard. And it also appears that there's a tent or something in the backyard where I'm not sure if someone's staying or living. But again, the broken windows, boarded windows are still present, and there hasn't really been any improvement after the per-day fine was issued for 60 days. So we're bringing it back in front of the board for issuance or authorization to issue another per-day fine.
Comments, discussion?
The per-day fine, you got it for 60 days. Are we limited to 60 days?
Roderick can elaborate on this if I don't say it right, but per statute, under the new House bill, it is a 60-day limit on the per-day fine.
It did not used to be. Correct.
Is this owner aware of what's going on? I think he would be after over a year, but
Yeah, they are, and I'm sure I don't have the presentation that was brought before the board back in April, so you may not recall. But at first we thought there might have been some language barrier based on the names of the property owners, but in fact, not only spoke with them on the phone, but in person one time in the front yard, and there is no language barrier. The female said that the male works 6 days a week and I guess out of town, so he only had 1 day a week to work on things, and so it wasn't much of a priority for them basically, and that was back during even at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, so they've had plenty of time to bring these things into compliance, and you know, as you saw by the broken window on the back door, I mean, it's just a wide open, I mean, there's nothing between them and the outside, so, you know, it seems like if it was a priority, they'd at least fix something like that.
What was the per day fine?
I'm sorry?
Jointly own this?
Yes, yeah.
What was the per day fine that we levied?
It was $100 per day for 60 days, so $6,000.
So we've already had that 60-day?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that was up in, May, June, July. So that was up in July, and but not before the last board meeting, so we had to wait until this board meeting to bring it back.
I want to make a motion that we implement a per day fine in the amount of $100 to run for a term of 60 days.
I second that.
Deere, Thomas. Deere,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving right along, case number 2, 2018-151, 1151 Kentucky Street, Miles Property. Brad, this one's yours also, case 2.
This case is the result of a tenant complaint that was back from January 8th of this year. The inspection of apartments 2 and 4 was conducted on the 10th of January of this year. Apartments 3 and 4 was on the 24th of January of this year, and we condemned apartment number 3 on the 25th of January of this year. You may recall that we brought this property before the board at the April 2018 meeting, as we were requesting per day fines on this as well. The board authorized such fines, and we sent a letter to the property owner informing them that the per day fine would begin in 10 days if the property was not brought into compliance. On this one, I did speak with the property owner during that 10-day period. It was during an unrelated inspection of a different property. He explained to me and showed me paperwork that he had invoices for new windows for that property and that they would be installed by the 1st of June, or there would be significant progress by the 1st of June. I explained to him that if there was not significant and measurable progress by the 1st of June, I would have no choice but to issue the per day fine. On June 1st, I re-inspected, found that the property remained in violation with no positive changes having been made, and I issued the per day fine. At that time, I posted it to the property and sent it by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner and address. That fee as well ran for a period of 60 days, and the property was inspected at that point, remained in violation as it does to today. The case has been open for 232 days, and it remains in violation. You'll see in front of you the pictures from when the property was issued the per day fine. Really nothing has been done, and in fact I don't even know if the owner's been over there to take the citation off the door. The per day fine citation is still on the door from the last time that the property was visited. You can see that all the windows are in disrepair. The stairs have pulled away at the rear, which allows for a large gap underneath the building. The only thing to notice in this picture, other than the disrepair of the windows, which you're familiar with from the prior 3 citations, is the fact that there's an air conditioner in the window in this picture, which is not there today. Because of the vacancy and the blight this property is causing, people are starting to dump tires and trash on the property, and they're stealing things off the exterior of the property. Again, this is from when the per day fine citation was issued. You can see the walking surfaces of the porch, upper windows, and pulled utilities, and the areas that the property owner had boarded up before the April meeting in order to avoid a per day fine citation. This is as of today, and again, like I say, there have been no positive changes, and in fact, we've had to send several letters for overgrown grass since the April meeting, and we've had to cite the property once and have a contractor mow the property because the property owner is not maintaining the property. Additionally, you'll see a picture there where one of the upstairs windows is now open. I don't know if that's from nature or from a person or what, but obviously it's a vacant building that is now open to entry in the elements. The air conditioner's gone out of that one window, and it appears to be openable, so I don't know if it's secured or not, but the citation is still sitting there from June 1st when we issued that citation. So no positive changes have been made. The building and property continue to deteriorate, and not really much communication or positive communication from the property owner about any changes.
Who is the property owner? Who do you talk to?
It's Clay Miles. He's the gentleman
Who?
It's Clay Miles. He was here at the April meeting, and as you may recall, the I guess summary for that one was very lengthy because we had the condemnation of the one apartment, and the rest of the interior of the building was in a very bad state. And so that gentleman was here at that time asking for leniency on the per-day fine. But he is the owner of the property and the LLC, and that's our normal point of communication.
The other question I have is, what about the per-day fines that he's involved with now? Is he paying those, or they're accumulating, or what are we? What's happening on?
Well, no, the 60 days has run its course, and that's why we're bringing it back in front of the board. So that $6,000 is already, as final order because he did not appeal that citation. I can look into finance real quick and see if he has paid anything, but to my knowledge he hasn't. But give me just one moment and I'll take a look here.
We had per-day fines in April and per-day fines in June. It's really irrelevant. I'm just wondering if he's paid any of it.
And also as a reminder, it just popped up on the screen that he is you folks designated him as a repeat offender, so his citations are already at a repeat offender status. But let's see, we had a $50 mowing order that has not been paid, and that was from July. He has $803 from the most recent citation. That has not been paid. $103 for the mowing. Doesn't look like that was paid. $803 for structural. That's not paid. No, it does not look like anything since the beginning of this year has been paid.
That's enough. We get the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we implement a per-day fine in the amount of $100 to run for a term of 60 days.
Second.
Deere, Thomas. Deere,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Wilder, Thomas.
All righty, case number 3, 2018-4672, 1049 US 31W bypass, CSR BG Investments, LLC, and Brad.
This is a new case that has not been brought before the board previously. The property has been issued one citation, which was already upheld by final order, and we're bringing it to the board for per-day fines per ordinance. But the case is the result of a roaming sign enforcement inspection that occurred on the 25th of June of this year, during which it was observed that the property was displaying 4 temporary signs without any required permits. A notice of violation was sent at that time to the PVA listed owner and address, explaining that permits must be obtained or the signs removed. Also included with that was a sign brochure and pamphlet to better explain the sign ordinance, and the compliance inspection date listed on the NOV was the 2nd of July. The pictures you see there in front of you are from when the notice of violation was sent. On the 2nd of July, I inspected the property and found that it was still in violation. I called the business and I spoke with the owner, Mr. Chris Robertson, and he explained that he had already been through this with David when David was the sign compliance officer, and David had given him permission to put the signs along the sidewalk in front of his business without a permit. I told Mr. Robertson that I would speak with David, as that is not conducive to the ordinance or how we generally enforce signs at any other business in the city. Was able to speak with David on the 12th of July about the case and the information given to me by Mr. Robertson. David explained that not only were the sign discussions that he had with Mr. Robertson at a previous business location, not at the current location, but he had given no authorization to Mr. Robertson to have such flags placed without proper permitting. After looking at the pictures, David agreed that they do require permits. On the 16th of July of this year, I called Mr. Robertson and explained to him what David had told me. He was argumentative and uncooperative, and I explained I had to be fair and equitable in my enforcement to all businesses regarding the ordinance, and that the ordinance was clear in the matter of what required a permit and what did not. He then tried to strike a deal to get one permit for all 4 flags, and I explained to him that a permit was required for each flag. So I suggested that we meet on the property to see if there was a way that we could find a middle ground and bring the property into compliance. He asked me to call him Friday morning of that week, which I did at 9 a.m. as he had requested, and I was told that he was out of the office. So I left a message with an employee at that time that Mr. Robertson either needed to obtain a permit or remove the signs in order to avoid a citation or further action from our office. I noted in my case at that time that I had gone out of my way for almost a month to gain compliance from the individual, despite how unpleasant he was and uncooperative he was being. I noted that all the contact was initiated by me, and Mr. Robertson does not call or communicate in any cooperative matter on his behalf to bring the property into compliance. I also noted that he never returned my call from the 20th, which is the call that he had requested I make. He did not make it on that day or through the middle of the following week. On the 25th of July, which was Wednesday of that following week, I was in the area on an unrelated matter, and I observed that Mr. Robertson not only had the 4 flag signs still up, but had also taken the time to add a large inflatable tube man sign device along the roadway. This indicated to me that not only was Mr. Robertson not cooperative with the permitting or removal of the existing flag signs, but that he was purposefully not cooperating by adding even more sign devices when he already knew that permits were required. On that date, I issued a citation, hand-delivered it to the business, to an employee on the property, and I also sent it by first class and certified mail to the listed property and PVA listed owner and address. You see there the citation that was hand-delivered, as well as the pictures from when the citation was issued. Later the same day, Mr. Robertson called my cell phone and was very rude and irate. He began cursing and calling me derogatory names, and I disconnected the call. Mr. Robertson immediately called back, and I answered stating I was happy to speak with him, but would not tolerate such language. Mr. Robertson again began using expletives and derogatory names, and I disconnected the call, at which point he started sending me threatening text messages not to come back to his property or he would press charges against me. As of today, the case has been open for 64 days, I believe, and the property remains in violation with all 4 flag devices still on the property. Additionally, he puts the tube man up on several days along the bypass. Per the sign ordinance, which I'll review here momentarily, the initial citation is $50, and on the 8th day, if the property is not in compliance, it is to be turned into a per-day fine per ordinance. However, we need to bring it in front of you to do so. So, again, this is the date the citation was issued. Here's today pictures from this morning, and as you see, he has made no effort to comply with the sign ordinance. The following 2 pictures you will see are the brochure that we give to all businesses in the city to explain the sign ordinance to them and explaining the permitting process, which was included in the notice of violation to Mr. Robertson. Article 4 of the zoning ordinance states clearly that all permanent and temporary on-premise signs require a permit. The enforcement of such is by any building inspector or code enforcement officer of the city or county. The penalties listed in the ordinance state that for each day of violation continues beginning on the 8th day after the date of citation was issued, it should be a per-day fine. And according to the table here, the sign violation is a $50 fine per day for the first offense.
There's no doubt he's aware of the violation.
Very aware of the violation.
Okay. I don't think that he should have to tolerate the abuse that he's taken from this person, and I'm not sure what we can do about it. We can fine him, and we will do that as far as I'm concerned, but I don't like this guy's attitude. What can we do about it? It's not right.
The only thing I think would be appropriate now that we've established that he has done that is tell the police about it.
That's,
Let them pay him a visit.
can we do that?
I'm curious, what does it cost for a permit for
It's $25 per sign.
so he's got maybe $100, and likely the permit would be approved, right? Because, I mean, they're not that offensive.
Correct.
Colorful.
None of the signs are in violation other than not being permitted, but
So he's
every
just
other,
being arbitrary and hard to get. He wants to
I can tell you
establish his
that,
own rules.
that between June, July, and August, I had, I think it was somewhere between 65 and 75 different businesses that I interacted with for sign permits, and all of them cooperated, except for this gentleman, so.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to implement a per day fine in the amount of $50 to run until the property is in compliance.
Second.
I have a question. Cannot exceed 60 days. I know, but we're
Run for 60 days.
run for 60 days. We can't run it past 60.
Okay, to run for 60 days then.
If he doesn't comply, we can come back and double the fine.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
this would be 8 days after July 25th, starting 8 days.
That's a question I don't have the answer to. According to the ordinance, as you see in front of you, it says that the penalties listed below are for each day a violation continues beginning on the 8th day after the date the citation was issued. So I don't know if the board can retroactively impose that fine or if it has to start today and run 60 days from today.
Well, it should still follow the same as the others that we've done, correct?
That's correct.
We have to do the letter, giving them the 10 days, and then issue the per day fine citation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you repeat that motion?
Well, essentially is approving the per day fine for $50 to run for 60 days.
That's it.
Yeah. And who seconded that motion? Was there a second? Okay. Okay. So Simpson and Thomas. Deere?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Wilder?
Yes.
Thomas?
I just don't like that type of attitude. I know you don't either. You're just trying to do your job, and if we can get some blue help, we need to get some blue help. So, all righty.
Maybe Peanuts Gaines can go out, maybe
Do
get a
what?
vote.
What? We have to vote?
It's city property, is it not?
No, he has them on his own private property.
No. It's the city.
Oh, oh, yes, absolutely. It's on the bypass, yeah, bypass at 11th, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation.
Second that motion.
Did we vote on the last one?
We did. Say Thomas and Deere.
Happens sometimes.
Deere?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Wilder? Thomas?
We're now in closed session.